If you would like to support the podcast and get some extra content while you're there, head on over to patreon.com/SevereMMA podcast and sign up. From the rewatch to the Q&A, we will have loads of content every week. So sign up, patreon.com/SevereMMA podcast. And now, here's the podcast. Welcome everybody. It's episode 407 of the Severe MMA podcast. My name is Sean Sheehan, joined today by the Karim Benzema of Irish MMA Media, Graeme McDonald.
High praise.
Indeed. I think he's got more goals against Liverpool than any player in the history of the game. So that's a great man altogether. Anyway,
has Mo Salah got more goals against Man United than any player in the game? He probably does at this stage.
Remember, he went like 6 years without scoring against me. He never scored at Old Trafford until, was it last year?
He's been scoring all over the place. He's basically taken over as the new owner.
Yeah, they're going to be 7th in tomorrow anyway, so that's right. But anyway, we're talking about MMA today. We wanted to talk about a lot of MMA. Leon Edwards versus Usman. Gunny Nelson came back, the Gaethje Fiziev fight. Danni McCormack, what a fucking win for Danni McCormack. We're going to be talking about that and anything else that pops up that's coming up next week or happened during the week. We're going to be talking about all of that. Before we get into it, spring has sprung. And our friends at Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming, have the best tools for some spring cleaning in your pants. Trust me, your confidence will be blooming like the flowers. Look your best this spring and join the other 8 million men who trust Manscaped. Use the promo code SevereMMA to get 20% off and free shipping at Manscaped.com. Manscaped are here to change the way all fellas can take care of ourselves and groom with the Performance Package 4.0. In that, you'll find the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, weed whacker, ear and nose hair trimmer, the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, the Performance Boxer Briefs, and a travel bag to hold your goodies. If you haven't heard that Lawnmower 4.0, where have you been? It's an elite electric trimmer that provides their proprietary advanced skin safe technology. It is designed to trim hair on loose skin. Although your balls might not look like punching bags, although they might look like punching bags even, don't treat them like that. Lawnmower 4.0 is also waterproof and equipped with an LED light so you can trim in the dark or in the shower. Also, what about those nose hairs? No one likes them. They're not very attractive at all. Use the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer that also has that proprietary skin safe technology to help reduce nicks, snags, and everything else. And in my absolute favorites, Crop Preserver, Deodorant, and Reviver toner. Put them in your bag, bring them around with you. They're absolutely brilliant. And that bag as well, it comes free with the Performance Package 4.0 and the Boxer Briefs as well. So always use the right tools for the job and head over to their website and check out all their tools to help you upgrade your hygiene routines. Have 20% and get free shipping with the code SevereMMA at Manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code SevereMMA at Manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. Okay, Graeme, UFC 286 is in the books. It was... Do you know what? It was a kind of a hard one to analyse throughout it. I think there was some good stuff. There was some bad stuff. I think it was weird for a lot of people in Ireland as well because we had the Ireland rugby match and I know a lot of people were watching. I know you fucked up your knee. You were at the doctor and stuff as well. So it was a bit of a weird undercard. But by the time it got to the main card, even though it was only like at starting at 9 o'clock at night for us, I think we got into it pretty quickly and enjoyed that main card. What's your overall feel coming out of the card, Graeme, before we get into the main event as we always seem to do?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was obviously there was some fights that weren't great along the way, but obviously Gunny Nelson kind of has I've been following his career for a long time. It's great to see him back. It's remind me of the kind of special times that we saw him even in Cage Contender and making his way into the UFC and stuff. And it's great to see him back looking good in great shape as well. Doing what we've seen him do so many times. And then obviously the Justin Gaethje fight was absolutely phenomenal. The main event I thought was absolutely brilliant. It was on a knife edge all the way through. The rounds were so close. Obviously, there was a couple of not great fights before that, but the Jack Shore Amir Khani, I thought that was an absolutely brilliant performance from Jack Shore. So I think, overall, even the Makayev with the knee bar and stuff like that, there was a good few different things happening and a good few exciting fights in different ways. And obviously, as I mentioned, there was a couple of not great fights mixed in, but that's to be expected. You know, you can't hit a home run every time. But overall, I really enjoyed the card.
When you put it like that, that's a very good breakdown, to be fair. It was a pretty eventful card, so we definitely, we're not complaining about the card. We want to complain about that too much. We'll get into all of the stuff you just mentioned there, but let's talk about the main event first. And it was obviously a very close fight. You know, we tend recently to maybe avoid judging for the first 2 or 3 minutes of the, or maybe 10 or 20 minutes of the podcast. But it's hard to do in this one because I think everyone was talking about it. But I don't think, obviously we came straight in here to do the podcast. So we haven't seen lots of the reaction, but I think most people were kind of not too mad at the judging or anything it is because it was so close. Like the rounds were just seemingly for the first round, I think Edwards won it. The second round, very close, could have gone either way. The third round, very close, could have gone either way. The point deduction there as well. We'll talk about that in a second. I think Edwards won the fourth, and I thought the fifth round was close, but I thought it was Edwards as well. Now, the way I scored it was 48-47, a draw, and I gave the two...
48-47.
Yeah.
Wouldn't how would that be? How would you get that card?
Because I had Leon winning 3 rounds to 2 and then deducted a point, so 48-47, and I had a 47-47.
Oh, okay, sorry, yeah, sorry. So
I gave the 2 close rounds to the number 2 and 3 to Usman, and I had him winning going into the fifth round. I had the fifth round for Edwards, and I had it a draw. So. Yeah, I were talking on the chat. I was talking to Ian and a couple of lads, and like Ian's kind of take was either Usman or the draw, and mine was kind of Edwards or the draw, because I had given, in my opinion, the 2 close rounds to Usman, so they can kind of go either way, and I can definitely see why the judges went the other way and scored it for Edwards. How did you have it? I know it's a very complicated one, I suppose, to go through like that, but who did you have winning anyway?
There was, as you mentioned, there was definitely some very close rounds, but I actually had the first and second for Edwards and the fourth and fifth for Edwards, with the third round going 10-8 for Usman with the point deduction. You know, I thought the first, fourth, and fifth were pretty clear cut, to be honest, for Edwards. Not clear cut, but you know, I thought he did enough. Yeah, the second, it's more of a toss-up, but I did think Edwards did enough in that as well. I think he just mixed it up very nicely. He landed a variety of leg kicks, really nice body shots, and he mixed in, you know, really crisp boxing as well. And I just thought he was landing the crisper, more impactful stuff for the majority of those rounds. And there was like certain knees and elbows that I thought stole rounds or confirmed rounds that were really close in there as well. But maybe, you know, I haven't watched it back. As you said, we're hopping on straight after the post-fight interviews or the in-cage interviews here to do this, so I haven't watched it back. But I thought 1, 4, and 5 were definitely Edwards on my card, and then 2 I gave to him as well. Yeah,
so we basically have the exact same thoughts, only differing on 2. I thought that was very close as well, and I gave it to Usman. So that's what I said. If one of either 2 or 3 turned, it could go to Edwards. So yeah, we basically have it the same. I think a lot of people basically had it around that as well. You know, the 2 swing rounds were 2 and 3. So I think, you know, that there ends our judging talk. Maybe we'll get back to it in a second when we talk about the point deduction and stuff. Do you know what, Graeme? And I think this might be a bit of a controversial opinion, but I'm going to say it because I do feel it. I didn't think it was a great fight, to be honest. I thought like Leon Edwards fought very much a winning fight, and he fought kind of a point fight, but it made it not the greatest spectacle in the world. And I also thought that I spoke a lot coming up to the fight about Usman maybe being 5% less, and I think he was. I think it was just like that 5% less, and like the question was, can Leon Edwards take advantage of it? And I think he did. You know, without, obviously I scored a draw, but without the point deduction, I would have had it.
Do you think it was 5% less from Usman, or do you think they were talking during the week, and they put up a tweet on the broadcast of Teddy Atlas talking about how old school trainers in boxing and things used to say that you get 30%, I think it was, better when you become a champion. It's probably like a confidence thing and all that. Like I thought it was more Edwards looked more comfortable and looked more confident than Usman was underperforming. If even though I picked Usman to win the fight and I thought he lost, 4 or 5 rounds. Obviously, I mentioned they were really close or whatever, but I think it was more Edwards was better in the than in the second fight. Sorry, he was better in the third fight than in the second fight in terms of confidence and letting his shots go and making it happen rather than waiting like he did for times in their second fight. I don't know why I'm so confused about them fighting the first time. It fucked me up so badly for the last fucking few months.
It was the exact same with McGregor Poirier. I just could never get my head around the fact that they had fought before. But I would tend to agree. I do think Edwards is better, and I didn't necessarily sign up to that coming in. I didn't know, to be honest. I do think he was better, but I do think Usman wasn't as good. Like, I think Edwards' game plan might have won the fight anyway, even if Usman was the same. I do think he fought better. I think the difference between Edwards in this fight than in previous fights is I thought he had a little bit more pop on the shots, and that's where it showed both points I'm making here. I thought he had a little bit more pop on the shots, and I thought the way they were landing on Usman just made them feel a little bit stronger. Like, I think he was wincing maybe a little bit more than he normally would. Now, he took all those shots extremely well. He showed a good chin and all of that, but it just felt every time he landed kind of one of those little bit of a bigger shots. I think especially in the first round that Usman was just taking him a little bit more. Like, there's no way disguising it either what Usman couldn't achieve in this fight that he did achieve in the last fight, and that was the ability to hold him down for longer periods. He did take him down many times, but he wasn't able to hold him down. I think Leon did a great job of kind of getting to the knees every time instead of and that's a great
patience. It was the patience and just doing one thing at a time, I think, and just staying relaxed in the moment and just, not I'm fighting this dominant wrestler who's, a scary wrestler. It's like, no, I'm just going to do the basic techniques one by one and work my way out of this. And it worked every time.
Yeah, I think it's a tactic. Like, people are scared of getting taken down sometimes. Are not scared of getting taken down, but scared of hitting the ground to defend the takedown. Like, Jose Aldo is, in my opinion, the greatest takedown defense of all time in MMA. And he was absolutely brilliant at hitting the ground and just popping straight back up, pushing. How many times you remember Jose Aldo pulling his toes out of someone's grasp and getting out? I think Edwards did that better tonight. He kind of got to a knee. Okay, take me down, Usman. I'm going to get to a knee. I'm going to get to the cage. I'm going to get the underhook, and I'm going to stand up slowly like that. As you said, take his time. I thought that was way better, but that's fine. But you have to look at Usman in that position and say he got to that position multiple times over and over and over, and he wasn't able to take advantage of it. Fair enough, Edwards defended well, but he defends well once, twice, 3 or 4 times the same way. You have to find ways around it, and Usman never really did. I think once he kind of got him down with his back for a minute, but he didn't really do much with it.
And he would have got him down on the fence grab more than likely as well. I think the one that got the point taken in the end.
Let's talk about that. What was your opinion on the fence grab?
I think if it had been an isolated incident, it would have been harsh, but the fact that he hooked the glove and kicked him in the balls in quick succession before that probably left Herb Dean thinking this is 3 kind of blatant fouls in quick succession. I kind of have to take a point here, and he did kind of his fingers didn't just slip into the cage. He kind of did grab it for a second or two at the vital moment of going for the takedown and caused Usman to, at least have more difficulty getting the takedown because of the illegal contact with the cage. So I think, in fairness, it probably was the right call, taking into consideration the other 2 fouls before that.
Yeah, it's probably the right call under the current rules. I just fucking hate the current rules. I really, really do. And I've been saying this for years. If you think about it, right, forget about my opinion on it in a second, but is it proportionate, the punishment that was given there? Because we know exactly what would have happened. We've seen them fight now for 12.
I don't think you can take that into consideration, though. But you can't be it has to be fighter A, fighter B. I think it can't be
that's grand, yeah.
If Maya gets on top of you, you're done, or if Gunnar gets on top of you, you're done. But if it's somebody like Usman, he's probably not going to submit you.
I agree. I 100% agree to that. So a single takedown, is that proportionate to losing a whole round?
Yeah, I don't think it is, but I think, as I said, when you add in the other 2 fouls,
but that's nothing got to do with it. That's nothing got to do with it. Like, he didn't even see it open the glove on. Absolutely not. I don't think. No.
And the ball shot, it's multiple fouls in quick succession. I think that definitely plays into the thinking.
Like, why can't we just offer the position to the fouled fighter? Like, offer him, and I know that one was a little bit.
Do you think he should have had the position against the cage, like not the takedown, but the position against the cage, even though the point was taken? Usman should have had.
Yeah, maybe the position against the cage, but you can't give him the position on the ground. I think this happened.
Not on the ground, but
against the cage. Yeah,
like, you know, one hook on a leg and kind of trying to get his hands together, but not having his hands together.
Yeah, I think that would have made a lot of sense.
Or you could even go back to the replay and just get the exact position. I can't remember exactly, but it was along those lines.
Yeah. Like, why not go back to the replay as well and this is obviously us, this is not us talking under the rules at the moment, this is talking about changing rules, but like, give the position, like Herb Dean is a fucking BJJ black belt. He can look at a takedown and how it's going. If he says someone has the back, he's about to slam him on the ground, give him the position on the bottom with the back taken. Or like, I think even make it simpler than that, right?
Starting a guy on a guy's back, though, is
I agree. I agree that's too much. So what I think should be done is, in that exact situation, right, here's what I would do, and this is, we'll get off this conversation in a minute, but I would offer, I'm Herb Dean, I see the fin scrap, I go up to Usman and go, you have 3 options. You can either start the fight standing, you can start the fight with the double unders against the cage, or you can start the fight in his full guard on the ground. Which one do you pick? Right, so that's a proportionate thing. The person gets 3 options there where they want the fight to be. Like, and that makes up for every single sort of fin scrap, unless it's an egregious one. And now, if it's an egregious one, take a point. Was this an egregious one?
You don't think it was egregious, though?
Not really. Like, was he going to go down and finish him or submit him after this? I don't think so.
I don't think that's part of it. I think it's like, did he grab the cage to stop himself being taken down, and that's what kept him up? Is more what I'd say you're looking for, rather than what was going to happen afterwards. The
punishment I would give for that is giving Kamaru Usman the ability to decide the fight where he wants it to be, whether it's in the full guard on the ground or against the cage or standing up. Like, a full point to lose a full round of scoring on one takedown. And he got fucking 7 other takedowns in the fight and got straight up from all of them. And I know we can't judge it like that. I understand, or we can't officiate it like that. But that's the reality of it. I just think it's like highly unproportionate to what exactly happens in the fight every time we do that. And we've had the same bullshit over and over and over. And we have people in as well, like, cheering when points are taken away. It's like, this is criminal. Like, it's criminally improportionate. Like, people just don't even think about it.
People want their guy to win or have a bet on, you know, they don't give a shit.
No, it's just that they have, you know, it's not that even. Well, it is that sometimes, but they have just like put themselves into this corner where they've been calling for points to be taken for fucking nothing for 10 years, and now every time a point's taken they have to cheer it on, even though it makes no sense. Now this one was a kind of a borderline one. I 100%, look, I see why Herb Dean took it and all like that, but I just hate the rule in general. I think it makes more sense. No sense. But anyway,
I think, you know, it worked out well in my opinion, because I scored the fight for Leon, that it didn't, you know, turn out to be a massively controversial moment where the fight swung on that.
No, and it didn't. The only thing it changed is it went from majority decision. It was a majority decision. It would have been a unanimous decision if it hadn't happened. But yeah, it didn't make much of a difference, to be honest. To get back to the
although it does make a difference in terms of, you know, what guys are thinking and their game plans.
That's true.
As the fight goes on. So
I don't like the rule. But anyway, the fight itself, like, as I said, I didn't think it was the best fight in the world, but a necessary way for Leon Edwards to fight in that fashion to win the fight. Like, even if Usman was at his best, which I think he was a little bit off tonight, a little bit slower, and I saw a few other people saying that as well, so it's not just me on a hill here. I think Edwards would have had to fight the same game plan. I thought it was a brilliant game plan from Edwards to kind of point fight, but didn't land the big shots, to kind of take out the legs throughout the fight, take out the body throughout the fight. I thought it was a bit weird, the no head kicks throughout the fight, and then just going for a couple late to kind of recreate. It's like, you can do that.
He did throw the odd one in there, though.
Not too much, though. Like if you're throwing fucking 12 kicks to the leg, you can throw one up high if you're in the second or third round. Like, you don't have to wait for the fifth round just because it happened the last time. I thought that was a bit
Or
odd.
maybe he's worried a bit that Usman has something ready, some kind of counter ready for
that's
it.
True. Well, maybe that's more a reason to throw it to see what's coming back. But yeah, did you think it was a great fight, or are you?
Like in terms of the fight we saw before it or whatever, or other fights we've seen, it wasn't like an all-time classic that you're going to go back and watch again like multiple times in the future or anything. But I love when the fight's on a knife edge and rounds are on a knife edge, and you're just you can't look away. If you look away, you're not going to know who won the round and who you're potentially going to miss. The one shot that's going to swing this round and this potentially the whole fight and the championship. So with the jeopardy and the closeness of the rounds, for me, I really enjoy fights like that.
Yeah, I do too. It was the only thing I don't enjoy about him is the judging shit afterwards. But I love those fights too. And it was one of those fights. I think that I was expecting a draw when it was over, and I was thinking, what's it going to look like if it was to happen again? And I think if it did happen again, I think it'd look very similar, but kind of more towards Leon. If I'm being honest, I thought like that thing about him being 20% better, I 100% agree with. Now, maybe people, because the way I started off this saying Usman,
I think the 30% or 20% might be a bit pushing it, but I do think, we talk about confidence in like other sports and in life even, like, it definitely adds to your ability when you're confident. I think obviously being overconfident can get you in trouble, but I think it's definitely not a universal thing where the second you win a belt, you're just automatically better. But I think there's definitely might be something to that. 30%, as I say, might be pushing it a bit.
I think Leon was a guy who lacked in confidence as well, if I'm being honest. And I think that's really helped him. Like, as Bisping said in commentary, to kind of prove that you are the champion, everything that people have said about you or that you've taught throughout your career is correct.
Idiots like me talking about how your brother is better, probably potentially going to be better than you.
He could still be.
Things like that,
You never know. Yeah, it was a very smart performance from the Inders. I hope no one thinks I'm taking anything away from him or anything by saying it was not a great fight and that Usman wasn't as good. I thought Edwards probably fought the best game plan he possibly could, and I think he fought it as well as he possibly could. And that's.
Do you think I was actually thinking this just before the fight. I was thinking Edwards is probably going to probably be smart to kick the legs a lot of Usman here, because Usman's made it kind of. It's been made so public, or Usman's talked about it publicly, and like Joe Rogan or something. I actually don't know where it came from originally, but everybody knows basically that he's got these terrible fucking falling apart, decrepit knees. Like, you probably should have fucking kept that to yourself, really. Like, you know what I mean? That shouldn't be like fucking, my mates who don't even follow MMA know that Usman's knees are about to fucking fall apart. Like, you know what I mean?
Everyone talking about
bad move.
Everyone talking about Usman walking down the stairs backwards. It's like every human being on planet Earth knows.
Yeah, even people like who don't really follow MMA know that Usman's knees are fucked. Like, so I don't know what.
Touches Richard Kiley's about it. He's just going around like Richard Kiley telling everyone he's injured before the fight. But yeah, it's that I agree with that. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, it was. What I find very hard to watch a fight at normal time. Like, I'm so used to watching fights like that at 6:30 in the morning. My brain finds it hard to actually fucking compute what's going on. I'm a fucking weirdo like that. But I
missed the first 2 minutes of the first fight, the Veronica Hardy fight. I just didn't realize it was on so early. Like, I knew it was on early, but the time just kind of caught up on me, and I was like, oh shit, I need to fucking turn this on.
Yeah. We'll move on in a second, but they brought in Colby, like facing off, kind of, or not facing off, but around Leon afterwards, and I just thought that was so weird. Like a guy who just lost to Usman a couple of times, pretty comprehensively.
Leon didn't seem too up for it. He was kind of like, you haven't fought in ages, mate.
It just so happened Colby was around, but yeah, I think if you're a lot of people now, you're probably licking your lips. Like, if you're Shemaev, I know they talked about him going to middleweight, but if you are Colby, if you are Bilal, that's. It's an interesting fight. I think, like, for a long time we looked at Usman and we thought this guy is kind of the unbeatable champion at the very top, which we should probably know by now to not do, because that never tends to stay the same, that situation. But with Leon, I think, like, it's it's a very interesting fight for a lot of guys in that division and makes it, wide open. And that's what we kind of want in those divisions. So I'm interested to see whoever it is next. Out of the names I mentioned there's probably one or two others as well, probably on the prowl. And whoever it is, it's probably going to be fun. So we'll leave that there. We'll move on to talk about Justin Gaethje and Rafael Fiziev. This one was a little bit more controversial in terms of the judging. I know a few people were giving out about it and things. I didn't think the judges' cards were actually great here. So
hold on. What was this? Was the one with the 10-8 in the third round by Paul Sutherland?
Yes.
What was that about? That was mental.
I thought the first round, given a 10-9 to Justin Gaethje by Clemens Werner, was actually worse than that.
Worse than a 10-8 in the third round.
They were both pretty bad, to be honest.
Werner was the first round it's wrong. It was definitely Fiziev, but 10-8 just came out of nowhere. I just
bizarre.
Gaethje nearly got he got stunned pretty hard in the first 40 seconds of the round. I don't know what's going on there.
That was and you know me, I'm not a one to give out about the judges or anything like that, but those were two.
The whole round, I was like, in my head, I was like, has Justin done enough here to turn that over? And like I think he did by the end because he really kind of turned it on with the jab and stuff like that. But like that 10-8 just shocked me.
I just wondered if something he completely missed or something. Like, he was on the wrong side of the cage?
You could see by Gaethje's reaction that even if you missed a strike, you could see by his reaction that was a hard shot. Like,
I'm just looking for excuses here because that's pretty inexcusable. I think that's a bad one. But I think the first round as well was pretty bad. Like unless you're going those leg kicks, those leg kicks were vicious. Like, unless you're really loving those leg kicks, you could probably. I think you can make more of a case, even though I think it's wrong that Gaethje won that first round. Then the third round is a 10-8. So
both were wrong.
I bet on Gaethje to win this fight, and I picked Gaethje to win this fight. Right. So if anyone thinks I'm biased without the ED on it or anything, I scored it for Fiziev after it, giving him. Obviously the first, which any sane person on earth probably would give him, and the second. And I think a lot of people are like, look, this was one of those fights. There was so much emotion at the end of it because of the way the third went. Everyone actually forgot that the second was pretty close, and it was pretty close. Two of the three judges had the second for Fiziev, the swing round, and he still lost, which is bizarre. Like, that was without a shadow of a doubt the swing round, and he still ended up losing the fight.
Do you think there's a possibility that Sutherland kind of decided here, I think I might have scored this for the wrong guy after the fight and gave it a 10-8 so he wouldn't? I don't know. I'm just trying to think of a reason why he could possibly give it 10-8 in that third round.
I honestly think the only way, I don't know, maybe... I don't know. It was the referee was standing in front of him for the 10 seconds where Gaethje was hurt or something. I don't know. It's a very, very hard one to comprehend, to be honest. But all in all, like, I think people were happy that Gaethje won. And if the judging was done right on the two weird things, then Fiziev would have won. Because Sutherland would have had it 29-28 for Fiziev instead of a draw, and Clemens Werner would have also had it 29-28 for Fiziev, with Mark Alès, the one guy who didn't have a weird card, had it 29-28 for Gaethje. So I think people are. I think
there's enough in that the second round that it's kind of what strikes you like or what you think had more impact, and
100%,
there was
very close.
There was some really nice stuff from Fiziev and some really fast combinations, but Justin was returning with some big hard shots as well as eating some as well. So I thought that could have went either way, and I would have leaned just about to Justin, but that's one you have to watch back with a fine tooth comb to know who won that. Like, but yeah,
it was a great fight though, wasn't it? It
really was, and Justin. We didn't win in a long time. We haven't really seen him fight like we saw him fight in the third round. Getting mixing up his game and getting on his bike, the jab. The whole over the fight as a whole, he added in some really hard leg kicks that probably helped in the slowing down of Fiziev. But he also put some good damage on his face and closed his eye a little bit, which probably didn't help with the distance perception and stuff like that, and helped Justin with getting that jab into his face and landing the follow-up shots. And that's what won him the round, and that's what won him the fight. So yeah, absolutely brilliant performance from him. And Fiziev, it was kind of an absolutely brilliant performance from him as well. I don't think he's lost anything in terms of where he stands and respect from the fans and all that stuff. I think both guys will come off this fight as if they've won the fight.
Yeah, I would tend to agree, and I agree with what you said there as well about mixing things up was the reason that Gaethje won the fight, because like coming in, I think, look, to be fair to the two of us, we kind of called it that Gaethje was being underrated. The price was insane and people were kind of writing him off, and I changed my pick from Fiziev to Gaethje. I thought it was going to be very close and it turned out to be close, but I think the fact that like Gaethje, I don't know if it was meant to be this way, but it feels like it was meant to be this way, where he fought the more technical fight early, lost the first round because of that, but by the time it got to the third round and by the time he upped the pace, Fiziev wasn't able to hang with him after the initial big hard shots in the first 30 seconds or 60 seconds of the round or whatever it was, and I thought that was like a genius game plan. That worked out very well for him, although the second was kind of a little bit of an uptake from that and it made it a closer round, but like dims the breaks, and you earn them breaks by having a smart game plan like that when you're fighting against a very, very, very good fighter. Even, and I'm saying this as someone who scored it for Fiziev, but that first round, like, just to quickly maybe go through it, and Fiziev landed so many shots. He was landing all these hooks. Never had Gaethje in like real trouble or anything like that, but was definitely landing the better shots. That knee up through the middle late, I'm very surprised he didn't throw it earlier than that and more often. Gaethje kept dipping his head forward, and I think it was Dan Indy talking about it before the fight, saying that Gaethje dips his head to the right, I think it was, and he's open for the head kicks, kind of like Cormier and Jones, which was a very smart piece of analysis, and an analysis that I'd say Trevor Whitman probably did as well, because he no longer kind of did that in this fight. He went straight down instead, which I don't know was much better, but Fiziev didn't prey on it much.
Yeah, I was going to say that was worrying me, that head movement from Gaethje. It looked like it could have ended up costing him, eating a big shot, but obviously mixing it up like that probably took away what Fiziev was expecting.
Yeah, and that's exactly. I think that was exactly and all it did. And like his one big game planned kick probably was taken away by Gaethje doing that, and he had to adjust it and do something else. And like he spoke during the week and has spoken before about the fact that he is still only a few fights into his career. He's only 14 fights into his career, which is not very much, and the hardest thing to do in MMA is to adjust in the middle of a fight, especially when you're a guy who's a very highly skilled game planner like Fiziev is, against a guy like Gaethje who's been around for a long time and has one of the best coaches in the world in his corner. So still in all, that doesn't take away from Fiziev. I'll say it again, I scored it for him, so I didn't think he got destroyed or anything like that. But that was a big adjustment from Gaethje that made Fiziev change and made, I think, the second round a little bit different, because then he did try to do that and it didn't work as well for him. Then Gaethje started upping the pace little by little, and by the third game, as I said, turned into that war that Gaethje kind of wants, and he almost had him there towards the end of it. But yeah, a very close round, a very close fight even, and a very fun fight as well, and I'm looking forward to seeing both of them back in it again. Graeme, Gunny Nelson, what a performance by Gunny. It just feels like Gunny is the guy who will absolutely destroy everyone who isn't in the top level. And maybe everyone's going to struggle against the top level, or it's going to be a close fight, but sometimes we forget how good of a fighter Gunny Nelson actually is and how elite especially he is on the ground. And against a guy like Brian Barberena, who's good, like probably top 30, 35 fighter in the world, Gunnar Nelson just absolutely fucking destroyed him here, really, didn't he? Just made light work of him.
I think they kind of mentioned or implied a little bit out of that during the commentary, but it's very difficult to kind of find a style, a training partner to, prepare you for the jiu-jitsu grappling style of Gunnar Nelson. It's just a bit different than what we're used to, and the standard stuff that we see all the time. He just takes different angles or does things a little bit differently, or I don't know what it is. Like jiu-jitsu people probably will be able to explain it better, but he just seems more methodical or something, or he just has a different a different way of going about it. And obviously on the feet, he's kind of a lot of the time he's just striking in order to kind of wait for the opportunity to get the takedown or to push up against the cage and get the takedown. And in this fight, that's what we saw him do. And I think Brian Barberine actually did a pretty good job of landing some heavy calf kicks and leg kicks that did mark up Gunnar, and at one stage kind of didn't put him on his arse or anything, but swept the leg out a little bit from under him. So that wide stance is definitely vulnerable to that. But once Gunnar Nelson got him up against the cage and was patient there, got him down. Even when there was about 20 seconds to go and John Kavanagh shouted out 20 seconds, that was kind of the cue for Gunnar to go for the finish. And 20 seconds for most people is a desperation attempt at an armbar, or kind of like, I'll just go for this and hopefully it works out. But Gunnar was methodical, and he did it the same way he'd do it if he had 2 minutes left, even though he only had a few seconds left in the round. I'm not sure exactly.
9 seconds,
9 seconds.
9 seconds, yeah.
But he's just calm in them moments and so composed, and just a really difficult opponent, as you said, for everybody, especially when it hits the ground, and especially if you're not absolutely elite on the ground, like a Damien Meyer or somebody like that. Gunnar Nelson's going to cause you serious problems on the ground if it gets there. So, yeah, as you said, he's fought Leon Edwards before to a split decision that probably most people thought shouldn't have been a split decision, that Leon won, but a competitive fight. So he can hang with the top guys, but he just isn't. He's in and out too much. He's been injured too much over his run in the UFC. Things just haven't really worked out. He's not as they were talking about it a little bit on the commentary. He's not as fighting isn't his life maybe as much as it is for 90% or 99% of the fighters in MMA and in the UFC. He enjoys coaching. He has the Mjolnir gym and his own fighters and things like that, and he enjoys that probably maybe even more or as much as he enjoys fighting. So it's not everything to him like it is to other people. So maybe that's what's kept him from putting in 3 fights a year and really making a run at staying active and going for the title. Maybe the title isn't as important to Gunnar as maybe it is to nearly every other fighter in the UFC.
He's had a lot of injury problems as well, which are very hard to overcome, especially when it's knees and things.
But
like
even
that,
afterwards in the post-fight interview, it's now, what's going to be next? Are you going to see you back soon? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. He's not as into it maybe as the other fighters are.
Yeah. Him versus.
But I haven't said that. Phenomenal performance from him.
Yeah.
He reeled back the years. Like I've seen that. Performances similar to that. Just him, just steamroll guys like that many a time, and it was good to see it again. And it's good to see Gunnar, back in the win column and back fit and fighting and winning. And as you said, kind of the line should have probably been a bit wider. Like Gunnar Nelson by submission. I'm a fool. I didn't go first. Yeah, that's a price you should be betting on against when Gunnar Nelson's fighting anybody who's not in the top 5.
I the 2 things that impressed me the most here were the takedown, which something on the way in we kind of not necessarily criticized him for, but it's been his issue to get inside and get those takedowns. But again, it is Brian Barberine. He's fighting with all due respect. It's not one of the upper echelon, and obviously Do
you think sometimes Gunnar has waited too much for the opportunity 100%. To rise for the takedown instead of actually forcing it, and that's cost him?
100%. But you see now it's harder to do that as well. Like even with Usman, Usman was forcing it at times today, but when you do force it against a guy like Leon Edwards, he's so well prepared that he gets to that knee, and the takedown is not worth anything to you. Now, if Gunnar Nelson was in a couple of the positions that Usman was in today, he probably would have ended up submitting Leon Edwards, because he almost got the back a couple of times. And that's it's weird, right? And this is going off on a weird tangent here. But we talked about jiu-jitsu for years, and people are always giving out to me that I disrespect jiu-jitsu and all. I actually think jiu-jitsu has like made a massive comeback in MMA, and I predicted this last year as well. But also like the lack of jiu-jitsu now. Like here's the point, right? I think people realized a couple of years ago, before I was even talking about it, that jiu-jitsu, high-level jiu-jitsu, wasn't the most necessary thing in the world, right? If you could kind of defend it, you'd be grand. And lads like Gaethje and lads like Usman that show they don't have it, it's actually hurting them. It's hurt Gaethje. Obviously he's lost a couple of title fights by getting submitted, but I think it's hurt Usman because when he gets Leon Edwards to the ground 10, 12 times or whatever it is in the last 2 fights, he wasn't able to have any submission or finishing threat. And it's a big thing. Like, I think that's massive. I really do think it's massive. But anyway, that's a massive tangent. But back to another tangent about jiu-jitsu. I was watching the fight with someone because it's all early, and there was 9 seconds left, but I think he got it with about 20 seconds left, and he was in like the spider web position, whatever it's called. And,
I think it was even less. I think John Kavanagh shouted 20 seconds left, and he kind of heard that a couple of seconds later.
And he went for it, yeah. But like the person who was with me just kind of wrote, "Oh, it's too late," and I was like, it's not too late. Like he almost hadn't submitted, but before he did it, because like with armbar, everyone wanted armbar. With an armbar, you don't, we all know it only takes a second, but with Gunnar Nelson, it only takes a quarter of a fucking second, because once that's on, you're tapping or you're snapping. That's it at that stage. Like if Gunnar Nelson had 9 seconds to snap your arm, by God, I'll tell you what, he could have it fucking snapped in 9 seconds.
Yeah. What I was thinking is, I hope Brian Barberena doesn't think he can make it to the bell here and end up with a broken arm.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what I was thinking as he was about to tap, because it was the second where he was trying to fight it. I was like, oh no, don't do that.
No, that's a big issue. That's the problem, as we saw with Makayev, which we will get to in a second. But what about it, Graeme? Gunnar Nelson versus Ian Gary, UFC Dublin headliner. You up for it?
No.
No, why not?
I don't want to see Irish guys.
Yeah, Gunnar Nelson's from Iceland.
Nah.
He's an Icelander against an American. What are you
I don't know. If it's completely necessary in the future, if they're like, fighting for, contendership or something, then okay. But I don't think just now I don't like it.
I love it. Sign me up.
Unless it's like it makes a lot of sense, I don't think it's, this fight needs to be made. I don't think so. No, I prefer not to, but I could see, it will be interesting. I think it's too soon for Ian Gary though. I think it's not necessary.
Who do you think it'll win?
I think at this stage, Jesus, I think probably Gunnar.
That's interesting. I don't know. I'd probably pick Ian Gary if I'm being honest, but we might see it some stage. I'd love to see that fight. God almighty. I know people always like hate me for this, but remember back in the day I wanted to see like Irish lads fighting, and everyone, Norman Park and Paul Redmond was made, everyone's giving out about it, and it was a great fight. And then like Leanne Sinead is a great fight, and them fights are fucking brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. When they make sense, but anyway, yeah, fair play to Gunnar. A great win for him.
I don't think the Gunnar Ian Gary one makes sense. I don't think it does.
Why doesn't that make sense? No, Gunnar's not ranked. Ian Gary's probably like, if he beats someone good, he could be on the verge of getting ranked. Like they're both around there, I think.
Compared to what Ian Gary's been fighting good guys for where he is in his career, but that would be a massive step up from Keenan Song to Gunnar Nelson.
I'm sure he needs to step up. He needs it. Anyway, come on, we'll move on because we'll be here all night. Jennifer Maia and Casey O'Neill. Great performance from Jennifer Maia. Not a bad performance from Casey O'Neill either, but coming back off of an injury. This was just a step too far too soon. Probably 9-1. All the best fighters in the world start their career at 9-1, so she'll be back, and we look forward to seeing that one. Vittoria and Delidze as well. Not too much to write home about this. A good performance from both guys, I think, as well. We had a lot of fights like that where both people fought well, honestly, on the night. I'll never forgive Spencer and Harry on the preview show for talking me out of picking Vittori. I had him by decision, and I decided to change.
I had him by decision. You should have listened to me instead of those punks. I should have listened to you.
Those punks. Those takeaway punks. Listen to
nothing but punks.
Punks. They'll be giving out those. So, but
jabronis.
Good win for Vittori. Come here to me, Jack Shore. I think it's a big mistake going up to 145. He won. Okay, he won the second round and absolutely deserved to win. I said, even when I was criticizing the move to 145, I thought he'd win anyway. He did not look in the shape that Jack Shore normally looks. Makwan Amirkhani looks stronger than him in the first round. We all know what happens with Amirkhani. He gets a good first round and he tires. But like, I think it's going to be an issue for him in the future. I don't understand why he moved this panic move to 145 after losing one fight. You know, he didn't look. See,
it depends how much the weight cut is affecting him, how bad the weight cut was. You know, sometimes it does take as well a weight cut or two to kind of get used to the new weight class. So I'd kind of reserve judgment myself until the next fight, because he got a good win here. He submitted Amirkhani, who's he's a very hard guy to submit, a very good grappler, and obviously, as you mentioned, kind of goes balls to the wall in the first round and makes it very difficult for you. And we Shore did very well to stave off the attacks and got the finish. So I'd hold judgment on that for another fight. I'm
only saying this as well because of how highly I rate Jack Shore. I think he's absolutely brilliant and a top line fighter, and I think he can be that more at 135 than at 145. Now, I'm never a one to call for people to cut weight more or anything, but he looked tonight like a guy who could get down another 10 pounds, and that's fucking a ridiculous thing for me to say, but everyone knows what I mean. We've seen him there for the previous 17 fights.
If you can't get the electric shock off the lad after his weight cut, then Sean thinks you're not doing it right.
Yeah, you're not doing it right. But a good win, a good submission against Makwan Amirkhani, who might be lucky to keep his job. I wouldn't mind seeing that Makwan Amirkhani in Bellator or somewhere like that. I think there's a few fun fights out there for him, but you never know. A lot of people are giving out then about this Omar Morales Chris Duncan fight. What was the other fight they were giving out about as well? Lerone Murphy and Gabriel Santos. Someone said I should be ashamed of myself for scoring Lerone Murphy fight for him. And truth be told, right, I put out my score. It was just the end of the Ireland rugby match, I think, so I switched away before I even heard the score. I didn't even realise that Lerone Murphy had won until like an hour later, till I logged on Twitter, and then someone was like, you should be ashamed of yourself for this score, and loads of other people scored it for Santos. So yeah, it was I think people did score it for Duncan. My memory is so fucking bad, and people were giving out about Morales getting a 30-27, I think, but yeah, it wasn't too far off. I thought Duncan and Murphy won. Murphy won very close. That Gabriel Santos, he's a fucking good fighter. That was a brilliant fight. That Murphy and Santos fight, they should give that a bonus, because that was nearly as good as the co-main event. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. What did you think of him 2 fights, Graeme, and the judging, or am I gone mad, or what's the score?
I actually didn't even see the Murphy fight. I was getting an MRI on my knee at the time.
Hashtag pray for Graeme.
Yeah, so I have to go back and watch that. Apparently that was a really good fight.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I missed that one.
I'll have to check it out. Right, we'll run through the rest of the card here. So, Yanal Ashimov beat Sam Peterson, landed. He kind of knocked him down, and he hit him as he was on his way down, and then Sam Patterson was just knocked silly. It was one of those shots that he wasn't expecting, and a big knockout there. Mohamed Makhayev, God almighty, there was a few weird ones here in the undercard. So Makhayev was fighting, obviously injured, as he said afterwards, with his shoulder, and he was fighting at such like a slow pace throughout the fight, but then getting his takedowns and landing these few shots, and it was a lot different to what he has been recently, but you can understand why, because he was still winning the fight and all that. But Philo was fighting a lot better than I'd seen him previously. I went back and watched a few of his fights for the betting show last week. And he almost guillotined him kind of half one stage, but then he caught him in this big fucking knee bar and absolutely pulled his knee to shreds. And Makhayev just refused to tap his knee. It was as bad as yours.
That was a disgusting angle, and having just injured my knee, watching that, I was like, oh, fuck.
That wasn't have been nice, but yeah, he didn't tap anyway, and he came through. And he actually submitted him. He submitted him in the last... how long was it? Last 30 seconds of the fight. So brilliant stuff by Makhayev there. And I hope that knee isn't too bad, and I hope he's not out for too long. But like, he needs to go in. If that shoulder is fucked, go in and get the shoulder surgery.
If his knee isn't injured, then he's got some ridiculously flexible knees. I don't know what the fuck's going on. That has to be some kind of injury there. Like.
Just get a PET scan and get everything fucking fixed, and we'll see you this time next year, basically. This will hurt his thing, though. Do you know, he wants to be the youngest ever champion. This is a big issue now, because he looks like he's 2 pretty serious injuries there. So that puts a real dent in that. But I think it's better.
Like 7-8 months when you're young, like he is.
That's true,
You probably recover a little bit quicker. I don't know. Yeah, he definitely does put him probably a fight or two back, but once he's back, he could realistically, depending on the matchups, get through unscathed and fight in quick succession. And kind of, if he is pushing for that youngest title holder, it still is a possibility, even if he is injured. But yeah, definitely, isn't ideal.
Indeed, yeah. After that, then, this was just the night of knee injuries, because Dusko Todorovic got a knee injury as well against Christian Leroy Duncan. It took me a couple of replays to actually see this, but he did. But before that, Christian Leroy Duncan was just like taking him apart. It only went on for 1:52. But yeah, he looked good before that. Look, we're not going to analyse that too much. He got a knee injury and it was ended. But 8-0 for Christian Leroy Duncan. Maybe they'll put it back together. Maybe he's injured too much, but we'll see on that one.
Yeah, I forgot about the liver KO as well. That was
beautiful by Jake Hadley. Yeah, lovely shot. And I almost hate that. And I'm not criticizing the referee, but I kind of hate that the referee let him put another few shots on. You know,
it was so nice. He hit him with the body shot, and then he hit him with the liver shot just below where he'd hit him in the body before. It was absolutely beautiful, and it would have been nice if he had just kind of walked off as he dropped from the body the liver shot, but. Sometimes we see guys go down from a body shot and kind of pop back up, and the ref probably wanted to give him that chance, so it probably was fair enough. But for the aesthetic of it, I agree with you. There
was a draw in the Jai Herbert Ludovic Klein fight as well. A ball kick in the third round, Graeme, wasn't it?
Yeah. Herbert started off really well. Both guys actually, it was a good fight. Both guys started off well. I thought Herbert won the first round. The second round, could have went either way. There was big moments for both guys. Probably was Klein's round, so it was all even up going into the third round, and then that obviously that low blow and the point being deducted ended up making it a draw because Herbert won the round on all three scorecards. So it's an unfortunate one. This as we said about the main event, it was lucky it didn't kind of affect the winner or the outcome of the fight, but in this one it did and ended up as a draw. But I suppose at least it's not going as a loss on Joy's record.
Yeah, and maybe they could put that on again. Joanne Wood then got a win as well, split decision, and terrible fight. And Veronica Hardy, I thought she looked very good. Her hands looked tremendous. Miller, not great, but made it tough. People always say sometimes
there was an armbar at one stage that kind of looked like it was risky enough, but besides that, I thought she didn't look good at all.
Do you know when jiu-jitsu player black belts say the white belts can cause you more trouble than the brown belts, just because they're wild and they'll do shit you don't expect? It felt like that was Miller's whole game. This was like an amateur versus a pro. This was complete levels. Like this and the Barberena Gunnar Nelson fight were just levels to them, just completely different levels, and this even more so, I think. But Veronica Hardy looks very good, and I'm looking forward to seeing her coming back and seeing what she's doing next. But overall, that we go through it was a pretty eventful card, and Leon Edwards retains his belt. And I just saw there on Twitter, Graeme, Dana White says it's going to be Colby Covington next, so we have that to look forward to coming up. Right, let's move on and talk about Invicta FC 52, because this was a banner night for Irish MMA. It was. Do you know what? It was kind of hard for me to keep my biases away from this one, and do you know what? It wasn't even that. It was that a bit, but even the commentary during this Danni McCormack fight, they were in tears. It was one of those fights. It was just a fucking. It was just an emotional fight. Like Danni McCormack got absolutely dropped as hard as you can get in the first round. 2 minutes later, dropped as hard as you can get again. And then she came back to win. What a performance. Absolutely brilliant stuff from Danni McCormack altogether to win the Invicta FC strawweight title against Valeska Machado. It was, a fight that if you haven't seen it, you probably need to go back and watch it but it's also one that you had to watch live, kind of, just because it was so wild and so fucking it was like what you said, they're on a knife edge for so long, because it felt like from the first round Danny was behind and it was a possible 10-8, but they had open scoring, so it wasn't a 10-8.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Do you think the open scoring made it less dramatic, slightly less dramatic.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Now, that's not an excuse I would use for not having open scoring, but it, without a shadow of a doubt, it did. But also, when you have the horse in the game, I suppose, kind of like we did a little bit, it makes it a little bit better because you know she's going to win. Like by the time that the fifth round comes, but it was one of those where in the second round, in the third round, you're just kind of thinking like Danny's pulling this back rather than winning the fight, even though she was winning those rounds. But by the time like the fourth round came and she had that massive fourth round where, you know, she was winning the early striking exchanges, where Machado almost got a takedown, but she wasn't able to do it. She had a big left from Danny. Then Danny got a clinch. Danny got a takedown after 5 big shots. Then got the side control, the half guard, and ended up winning that fourth round like that. You're kind of thinking, oh shit, Danny has this. And then we see the open scoring and she had it and she went and she won the fifth round as well. But it was an emotional roller coaster because, as I said, the first round, 2 big knockdowns. Danny survived, ended up on bottom, almost, you know, got ground and pounded, almost got submitted. She didn't get almost submitted, but she was stuck. You know, she had taken her back, but she got out towards the end of the first round. Then the pressuring and the clinching came in the second round for Danny. Machado was landing a lot less, but it was a lot because of Danny's pace, I think. And she told me exactly what she was going to do, and she did exactly that. In the third round, the pressure again, Machado was more light on her feet and got her second wind in the third round. But Danny, you know, got inside, got the clinch. Machado broke it. Danny clinched again, landed a few nice combos, landed a few, even ate a couple of elbows from Machado. And like from the very start of the fight as well, she got punched right in the nose, and her nose was red from the very start throughout the whole fight and bleeding. And it's funny though, because she took that damage in that one punch, and she took more damage throughout the fight, but that damage like really stayed with her for the whole fight, and she had to fight this whole winning 4-round fight with that damage for the whole fucking thing. It's like, you know, it's like a soccer team getting someone sent off after 2 minutes and just having to like cling on and just, you know, make it a fucking dogfight for the rest of it. And that's exactly what she did. I said that big 4th round, and in the 5th round as well, she got a huge takedown. Machado ended up getting up, but Danny was in control. Ended up getting clinch, and then punches off the clinch, and then another takedown late. Machado tried for an armbar, but no good. And when Danny got into the quarter mount, it was kind of like the ole started, and that was it, and everyone knew Danny had won. It was fucking brilliant, Graeme. What did you think of it? It was a brilliant fight, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like as you said, she really did well to weather the storm. Like it wasn't looking good in the first round. You know, the Stephanie Page fight, I think, probably really stood to her. That loss that she had in Bellator, her first loss of her career, really stood to her there. She just stuck to her game plan, made it hard for Machado. You know, relentless, going for takedowns, even if she didn't get them, just making it difficult. You know, as you said, I think to be honest, she just wanted it more, and that's what it came down to in the end. She just wanted it more. It was just, she wasn't going to be beaten that night. She just was going to, if she was going to be beaten, she was going to go out in her shield, and she was just going to give absolutely everything, and that's what she did. And I think that's why, you know, everybody in the commentary booth and all got emotional, because they could see how much it meant to her and how much she wanted it. And, you know, everybody wants it in this game, but I think there was something special going on there. You know, Danni McCormack, obviously, recently, like, less than a year ago, was riding a 2-fight losing streak, and, out of Bellator, lost her first fight out of Bellator by split decision, picked up by Invicta and really turned it around. Really, impressive
stuff. She earned that spot, didn't she, in the first fight she had, because she was brilliant that night. She was the tournament night, and she was the best fighter on the night, like.
Yeah, she just toughed it out in this fight when she had to, and made it difficult for her opponent the whole way through, and just wore her down and just kind of beat the fight out of her by the end. And the open scoring probably added into it, but I think Machado knew that she was beaten by the fifth round, and she couldn't stop what Danny was doing, and Danny just wasn't going to be stopped that night. And to win an Invicta title is a really big thing. Maybe I said this on the podcast last week. Maybe new fans don't really understand how important Invicta has been in the history of women's MMA and MMA in general. And to be the first Irish female to win that Invicta belt is absolutely huge. And fair play to Danni. She really turned it around in the last year. A lot of people could have, under the pressure and under the stress and the anxiety and the depression, I'm sure, that came with, the way she lost in Bellator and losing the decision after that, split decision after that. So, not just in the fight she toughed it out, but in, turning the 2-fight losing skid around and being back on top now. That's just a phenomenal turnaround from Danni McCormack. And she just did it through pure determination, grit, and obviously ability as well.
100%. And it's something a little extra bit special as well, because obviously we've had McGregor and we know what happened with McGregor, but we've had lots of, BAMA champions, I suppose, and Cage Warrior champions and all, but those are brilliant belts that kind of take you to the next level, as is the Invicta one, right? But it feels like Invicta is just like, because it's more worldwide and like truly worldwide, because like it's hard for big guys and women to find fights, and they have to like almost come together to find fight, or even training partners or anything like that. You see it, with the three big guys in SPG now. You see it with Leah going across Liverpool to train with Molly, and John O'Bannon going across to Liverpool. It's tough, and they all kind of have to come together. And it feels like Invicta is that place, and has been that place for years, where all the best women in the world come together. Like, I'm looking at the card here, and just to read out the countries: Ireland, Brazil, Poland, Brazil, Ireland, Finland, Brazil, America, I think. What's the one there? I'm looking at the flags. Russia, I think there's like Colombia in here. They come from all over the world, and that just makes it a little bit more special. I think that just makes it a little bit more prestigious. And there's a high argument here that this is, like, after McGregor, the best win an Irish MMA fighter has ever had. I think there's a massive argument to be made that is it. This is, and we should, like, we are waxing lyrical about this, and we should. Ireland should be fucking so proud of Danni McCormack and so happy with what she has achieved here. It's absolutely brilliant. And, I spoke to her coming up, and you mentioned the word depression there, and Danni, kind of said that to me as well in the interview I had with her coming up. And I know Ian spoke to her very well as well, and Ian's done great interviews with her, better than mine even, so check out Ian's over in SevereMMA. But to come through all of that, to change from being in the horse racing industry and to doing Cheltenham Week as well, I suppose, was probably a little bit extra special for her and her friends and her family, maybe even. But to change tack.
And on her birthday.
And on her birthday. God,
happy birthday going for her, song going for herself there.
It was brilliant. I'm really fucking in tears here thinking about it again, but it was exceptional. And she's a SevereMMA Patreon as well, Patreon patron. So that makes it even better. So if you're not signed up, sign up now and you'll become a world champion. Sign up, and that's the end of it. But absolutely brilliant for Danni now. And you know what? Before we get into what's next surrounding for her, why isn't Danni McCormack being talked about going to the UFC? She's 7-2. She won the title here in Invicta, £115. We always need plenty of fighters to go into the women's divisions in the UFC. She has paved her way. She deserves it now. I remember last year we were talking about Reece McKee, we were talking about Paul Hughes and others, like, they've done enough to get to the UFC, and I think they have, and we'd love to see him fighting Cage Warriors maybe again or whatever, but Danni McCormack, the first call now should be the UFC. She's with Paradigm. They're a good management team. She has this belt. I don't know if she has to defend her. She's contractually obliged or anything to defend it. We'll talk about who could be next in a second, but the first call, the first shout from everyone from Ireland here should be get Danni McCormack in the UFC, because you know what, she's well able for it, and this is her time. So I that's my call anyway, Danni McCormack to the UFC. But Sean O'Bannon was also on the card and had a fucking great performance. So I think the best performance of her career, switching stances in the first round, landing some lovely kicks ahead on the strike, and took a few shots as well, but she was briefly on her back in the midpoint. But Sean is very good off the ground, and very good with kind of her defensive jiu-jitsu, if you want to put it that way. And I think the late head kick /throw/ground and pound sealed the round for her there, and she did win that round. In the second round, Amina ended up kind of clinching her early, but Shauna got out, landed on top. She landed a series of hammer fists in, were very, very good. Got the half guard treatment and arm triangle, and landed ground and pound for the rest of the round. I definitely won that round. And in the third, Amina was coming out trying to kick a little bit more, but Bannon was trying to pressure a little bit more, but Bannon landed her side kicks, a few head kicks, looking sharp with the hands. Mina was more aggressive. She almost got a knee bar as well. There was a lot of bad knees this week, but Shauna was saying that she's training since she was 3 years old, and she's very flexible, so she was absolutely grand there. got a lot of ground and pound from it, and ended up winning the round even more. Landed a big elbow as well late, and won 3-0 on that card. So, look, if Danny doesn't get signed to the UFC, this fight could happen. Very much could.
I think that knee bar attempt, I don't know, if maybe I'm wrong here, or jiu-jitsu people probably, know better, as I said earlier, but a lot of times when people go for these kind of knee bar, I don't think they know what they're doing. I was in no way thinking that was going to be finished there. I don't know. I think people go for these knee bars when they don't really know what they're doing. They don't really have them. They try to make it look like it's close, but it isn't. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but
I don't know. It feels like
I think the Makayev one was different, but I think a lot of knee bar or leg lock attempts are for show and people don't really know what they're doing. A
lot of them are, but when they're as tight as the Makayev one, as you said, that was a little bit different. They obviously can. I just think and I know nothing about this and we don't, but jiu-jitsu people would probably admit to you, if they were to be honest, that leg attacks are way easier to defend now than, let's say, they were in Heist Gracie's time. And okay, maybe if you come up against Husmar Pal Harris or Gordon Ryan or something like that, it might be a little bit different. But, when you come up against MMA fighter A or B or C, it's not going to be that.
Yeah, if Ryan Hall's hanging off your leg, I'm like, oh shit, you better blow out your knee here. But with 99% of fighters who aren't high level black belts, a lot of the time I'm thinking, and a lot of the time it proves to be right, that there's not really any danger here.
Yeah, indeed.
But yeah, Shauna looked really good. That's a big step up in terms of experience, and the girls that Mina had fought, as we mentioned, went to a split decision with
Jinyu Frey.
Who's has a up and down but decent record in the UFC. Has the wins over DePaula and Ashley Yoder, so she's been in there with experienced girls and ladies, and Shauna made it look easy, to be honest. Showed that she belonged there, showed that she's the better fighter all around, pretty much, I thought, and showed that she's able to make the step up and fight against an experienced girl. She looked very impressive in her amateur career and her early pro career, but her early pro career, as it should be, were against inexperienced fighters around the same kind of records as she was at the time. And she went in there and she didn't look out of place at all. She was able to hold her own everywhere and dominate most of the fight, and she's definitely developing at a really, really good rate. She's definitely a really, really good prospect. I think the fact that she's only 5 fights into her career, maybe it's not the time to step into the title shot now. As you said, maybe logically Danny probably should be getting into consideration at least for the UFC call, but we've seen with Paul Hughes that maybe the UFC aren't in a rush anyway. Maybe if they had an Irish card scheduled, things could change, but that hasn't been rescheduled. The one that was before COVID lockdowns came in, there was a UFC card scheduled, as most people know, and it hasn't been rescheduled. So it might take something like that for Danny to be signed. So
with Shauna as well, she tweeted that she is getting a quick turnaround and she's another fight coming up. And now she has spoken before about the fact that she has a clause in her contract with Invicta that she can fight in Ireland outside of Invicta. So, any card coming up soon in Ireland, Graeme, that she might be able to fight on? What do you think? I don't know.
I wonder is it a clause that she could fight for any promotion, or she could fight for?
I think so.
Local promotions.
No, I think she can fight for any promotion. Yeah,
that's a very interesting clause.
No, so yeah, it's an interesting clause, and you know what, that'd be great because it'd be great because you could get Shauna another fight, another bit of experience, and it also gives Danni McCormack the ability to fucking enjoy winning her title and not have to talk about this fight. Is it a fight that could happen? That would be a great fight, absolutely. But I don't think we have to lose our minds over it happening either as well. They're both
kind of like what I said, it does with the Gunnar Nelson and Gary thing. Even though Gunnar Nelson is technically not Irish, he's been adopted for years. Unless it has to happen, I prefer it not to happen. But
I wouldn't mind seeing it happen, but the best case scenario here, right, is Danni McCormack goes to the UFC, Sean O'Bannon fights maybe Fatima Klein for the vacant title. She wins that, and then she goes to the UFC too. We could have them both in the UFC. Like, wouldn't that be the best?
If they fight in the UFC, I'd be much happier with that because they're both getting paid decent money, and but yeah,
it was great to see
right
Sean.
Now, I don't think I prefer us to have two very good prospects or very good, fighters in the division than knock one down a little bit and have to kind of build up again unnecessarily.
That's true. All right, we'll move on. Congratulations again to Danni, an absolutely brilliant performance. Congratulations to Sean as well, but Danni definitely taking the headlines for this week in Irish MMA with a brilliant win. We mentioned as well 2 weeks ago, Norman Park won, Nathan Kelly won. Norman Park, in my interview with him, I'm taking credit for this because I mentioned Peter Queally fight possible. Now he's calling out Peter Queally as well. What about that? That'd be a good fight for Bellator Dublin, wouldn't it? Norman Park and Peter Queally.
Yeah, well, like Bellator and Norman Park, like what's going on there? That's been a bit of a strange one. You would have thought that he would have been
a little bit of insider info there that I think it might be okay. Yeah, I think it could happen. Yeah.
A little bit of insider information. Yeah, interesting. So that's in the works.
Hold on. Not necessarily that it's in the works. I don't think Norman and Bellator wouldn't do business. Let's put it that way. I think they could do business if Peter wants to fight. If Norman wants to fight, I think they can get the fight done. I don't think Bellator would not get the fight done, if you want to put it that way. So that's my slight bit of insider info. But anyway, I think it'll be a good fight. Let's see it happen. Anyway, we'll move on. Cage Warriors 150 was at the weekend. And this was a lot of fun finishes in this. Here, actually, while we're on this kind of subject, right? Cage Warriors, bring back the fucking interviews. What the fuck? Just bring them back. UFC as well. The UFC had an English presenting team on the pay-per-view before the pay-per-view started.
Yeah.
And I'm like, never, ever, ever, ever do that ever again. Nobody, not one single fucking person wants that. Nobody
they did it the first couple of events that they had ever BT Sport, and then they scrapped it.
Remember that? Oh my God.
Randomly just brought it back now.
Immediately scrap it again. And also, right, if you want that, you fucking John Gooden there. Why wouldn't, why? You have these two losers there, like what the fuck is that about? And Tom Aspinall standing in the middle of these two lads is like, what is going on here?
Sean's going off here.
Well, I don't know. I don't know who the two lads are, to be honest. But it's so weird. And it looked so low rent. It looked so bad. It sounded so. I had to fucking change very quickly. So maybe they improved. But I switched back with 10 minutes left in the prelims, and I was like, this better not keep going for the pay-per-view, and thankfully it fucking didn't. But yeah, BT Sport, if you're listening, please listen. No one on planet Earth wants that, apart from maybe them and their parents or something. No one wants it. No one. Don't ever bring it back again. Anyway, and actually, I take it back. One of the lads is sound. Which one? I don't know. One of them's Peter, and then one of them's Adam's nice. Adam's sound. So I take it back. The other lad is... He's a Liverpool fan, so what can you expect?
Fuck's sake.
Jordan Bush.
If you want Sean to hate you, just support Liverpool.
Just support Liverpool. I don't hate you though, do I? A little bit.
Probably a little bit. Yeah.
Fair play. Jordan Vucinic looked absolutely phenomenal. Just coming back here, took a few shots early, win for the takedown. Vucinic, you know what? He's such a fucking great athlete. I don't think he gets enough credit for that. And I tweeted on the night, there's no shame losing to Paul Hughes. Doesn't make you a bad fighter. Still one of the top prospects in the world, and he showed this here. And it just, a great performance. I think you could say the same for Burlinson, who came in and won against Jamie Richardson in the third round. Both of them, the two Irish lads that hold the belt at the moment, right? They could both be in the UFC by, the turn of the year or whatever. And the two of these lads could be back in the title contention that they just kind of lost out to the two Irish lads. So I think that's both exactly where they are there. Dinlan near Kavanagh, what a performance by him. I know Ian was kind of the first one to note him as a prospect, and I kind of came in soon after him because I was like, oh shit, you are right, 100%. But he's another guy who just looks so athletic.
What a ridiculous KO as well. Do you
Hindenbrow.
think he meant that, or do you think like?
Yeah, he did. It was the exact Hindenbrow Eddie Wineland knockout. Remember that?
But do you think he was going to the body, or do you think I don't know?
No, he was. If you watch it again, he dipped down his head once, then he dipped down twice, and he was going. I think he was going for it. Yeah, I do definitely think he was going for it. So yeah, but it was whatever. Anyway, he deserved it. He was one.
If he was going for it, it was phenomenal, and even if he wasn't, it was phenomenal because what a beautiful finish, and he looked phenomenal before that as well. You know, he's definitely a really, really good prospect. You know, Cage Warriors, obviously Ian Dean, the matchmaker, he puts a lot of thought into the matchmaking, unlike a lot of the time in the UFC recently we've seen. So, he'll probably have a plan for Kavanagh, and I'm looking forward to watching his rise because. If he's putting on performances like that, he's definitely a really, really good prospect and one to watch. But obviously, it's early days. But I don't want to get overexcited. But with performances like that, and if he did indeed mean that KO, like obviously he meant the technique, but to land where it landed, then that's absolutely phenomenal.
I have the perfect fight for him that can't happen, right? Blaine O'Driscoll. What a great fight that'd be. Lanier Kavanagh versus Blaine O'Driscoll, but. Unfortunately, come on, lads. Come on, John and Graeme. Sit down and have Graeme. What's his name? Graeme Boylan. Sit down and have an old cup of tea. And just suss it out. Shake hands and go. Look, we'll have the odd fighter. We won't. We'll go in and out. We'll work. Blaine O'Driscoll versus.
Do you think it's just obviously there's a bit of heat back there, but even if there wasn't some heat between John and Graeme, do you think the pay that Cage Warriors are offering? Compared to the options of like PFL and Bellator pay?
No, because I think some fighters left to their own devices would take the option of wanting to go to the UFC. Like a few fighters have said that before to us in interviews and things. So yeah, I like let's say you're Kiefer Crosby, right? And you're in Bellator, or Will Fleury, and you were in Bellator, and you decide, all right, I'm out of Bellator now. Let's go and have 2 or 3 fights in Cage Warriors and try to get to the UFC. Like, I think that's a great option if it was open to them. And I'm not saying it's John's fault. I'm not saying it's Graham's fault or anything. I don't know whose fucking fault it is. I don't care. I just wish it isn't happening. But I think lads would take that option, yeah. So, anyway, look, we can dream. But the rest of the cards, Daniel Skabinski and O'Neil Brown. What a fucking fight that was. Brilliant fight. Skabinski won. Jake Higgins won. He looked good. Nick Bagley looked brilliant to move to 3-1 there, as did Jack Eglin. Eglin. I'm always calling him Elgin. It's Eglin. Sorry, Wesley Maya got the win as well. And then Amran Shaban out of Team KF. Anaconda choke, not a Darsh choke, an Anaconda choke. Looked very, very good. I just love how, what's the word I'm looking for? Slick that Amran Shaban looks. Do you know, actually earlier, I was meant to make a point as well. You were talking about Gunnar Nelson and you're talking about the way he moves and stuff. Do you know what he's like? He's like a Dimitar Berbatov or a Mesut Özil or one of them. Do you know the way he moves? It's just like, it's kind of slow but deliberate. And he's just so good. Omar Shaban has a little bit of that about him, I think, on the striking, but I love how long he fights and how, slow. And that's a massive compliment now. I don't mean like, most fighters go on to fight fast, but slow and smooth. Yeah, I love that about him. And then on the ground as well, he looked deliberate. I just think he's improving all the time. And I think Chris Fields is a great trainer for him because I think he's a similar sort of body type for the weight classes, obviously, that they fought in. And yeah, very impressed. What did you think of Omran, Graham?
Yeah, he looked really good. Obviously he's very confident in his jokes, like rolling to your back and things like that is, shows a lot of confidence. And he got the anaconda, or did you say it wasn't an anaconda?
It was an anaconda, yeah. But people always say, it was a Darcer an anaconda, but it was an anaconda.
yeah. Sorry, I thought it was an anaconda. So yeah, he got it done the first round with 13 seconds to go. He showed a lot in that less than 5 minute period, and he just showed that he's on another level and that he's kind of due a step up, and he, as you kind of said, he's developing fight to fight, and it's really good signs. And as you said, having a coach that's kind of big guy who can get involved with you, and who's kind of semi maybe mostly retired fighter, but not 100% retired. He's in shape, as you said, and he's got some really good prospects coming out of that gym with Tom King as well. And this looks like another one. And I don't know where they go with him next. I think you keep the slow roll for the moment. I know Chris Fields has, or the team have taken some big fights early on in pro careers, but I think maybe, it's unnecessary. I think he can build the hype while he improves fight to fight and gets impressive wins and, highlight finishes and builds the hype. And, I'd like to see the slow roll with all the Irish related guys.
Yeah, I think going from Mush Aslani to say someone like an Oban Elliott or a James Sheet, that'd be too much, I think. So I agree with you. 2 or 3 more fights. Mush Aslani came into this as 4-3. Give him someone who's, who I'd see 5-1, someone similar to that, and then push him on and on. I think that's the way to go.
That's another good reason to as we were kind of mentioning there, to go to Cage Warriors, even though the pay isn't great. If they see talent and prospect in you, they will match you up appropriately and give you the best chance to kind of make it happen. And maybe we've talked a lot about kind of Bellator's matchmaking with certain Irish guys ad nausea, but in Cage Warriors, they will match you up well, and they won't rush you if you're not ready, or if it's obvious you're not ready. Maybe they'll take the odd chance or two on a guy, but yeah, I think for the Team KF guys, being in Cage Warriors as young pros is perfect.
Yeah, I agree 100%. There was a couple of fights off of this card as well. Speaking of Team KF, James Webb, his fight against Alan Carlos, I think they were on about getting James Webb maybe back on next week, but hopefully in Ireland maybe. The Morgan Sharia fight fell out as well, and the Harry Hardwick fight, which is a disaster for Cage Warriors, because they could have been the next 3 title contenders in a row there, and that's real bad luck for Cage Warriors, so that's unfortunate for them. What they do have though is a card again next week. It's kind of like a double card. It's one of these unplugged cards. So the main fight is for the vacant middleweight championship. The Christian Leroy Duncan vacated. Will Curry fighting against Mick Stanton. Very interesting fight. Kind of the old dog against the new pup, I suppose. And I think a lot of people would probably favour Will Curry coming into that, but a very interesting fight. Some good fights as well. Matthew Bonner against Guillermo Candera. Myself and Brad actually did a preview for this. I'll be out in Chardog over there, so you'll be able to see that. SevereMMA, Albert Diaz as well, a very good fight there. And Aggie Sardari, the former champ, is back as well. So a few interesting ones on that. I'm going to run through some of the other fights happening next weekend. One Championship also are back. They have So Ham against Isuki Hirata, and if I'm not mistaken, that is a rematch. And I know it was supposed to happen and it didn't happen. Yeah, so that's finally happening now. I'm looking forward to seeing that. And they have as well the heavyweight championship is on the line. The interim champion Arjan Buller is taking on Malyakin. Is that fight still happening? Maybe it's not. Maybe it got cancelled. Oh, it did get cancelled actually. So. Yeah, never mind. But there's other fights on as well. Daniel Will. Oh, no, that's a Muay Thai fight. Never mind. Alex Silva. Yeah, there's other. Who cares? Then PFL Europe are kicking off as well next week. And it is the light heavyweights and the women's flyweights. Now, these 2 divisions are, I would say, relatively top heavy. They have 2 fantastic fighters in them. Simeon Powell in the light heavyweight division and Dakota Dicheva for the women's flyweight. She's fighting Malin Hermansen. Irish interest in this. Valentina Scatizzi, the sister of Daniele Scatizzi, who fights out of SPG. She fights out of SPG as well, and she helped Danni McCormack prepare for her Invicta title championship win. So interesting to see her there as well. Antonio Salamoni, who fought Will Flory recently, he's taking on Daniel Ladero. I'll have a full preview out for this over on Sherdog as well, so you'll be able to listen to that. But if you're tuning in for anyone, tune in for Samuel Powell, tune in for Dakota Dicheva. Actually, Dakota Dicheva fought Shauna Bannon as an amateur as well. That's up on YouTube if you want to check it out. Dakota Dicheva won that fight, but I watched it back and I'm like, maybe Shauna Bannon could have won that fight. So that shows the level of Shauna. Anyway, UFC next week as well. Vera versus Sandhagen. A brilliant fight. Holly Holm versus Yana Santos. Yeah, who's Yana? Oh, Yana Kunitskaya is now Yana Santos. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Nate Landwehr, Austin Lugo, Andrea Lee against Macy Barber. Oh, that's a fun fight. Alex Perez, Manel Cape, Chidian Jaquani against Albert Durev, and a few others as well. It's not a terrible card, but skip the prelims. Watch the top few fights. Graeme, who wins between Chita Vera and Corey Sandhagen? What do you think?
I'd say Sandhagen. I would say Sandhagen, but Marlon Vera has surprised me recently with his improvements. But it's a tough one. It could go either way. I wouldn't be surprised with a number of outcomes, but I'd lean Sandhagen. Yeah, but Marlon Vera, like, I think I might still be underestimating him. He might turn into one of those Jan Blachowicz, where I just pick against him the whole time while he continues winning. Me
too, I think. Yeah, like, he's done a great job of finding lads recently. You know, he kind of just walks them down over 5 rounds or 5 minutes, and ends up finding that big shot at maybe the 3-minute 45 mark kind of thing. But Sandhagen is the opposite of that. Like, he isn't found very easily. So, you know, it seems like a bad matchup for Vera. I'd probably go for Sandhagen too, but also what you just said there is correct. Like, we're notorious for having lads that we always pick against, and we're always wrong, and we never change. So, you know, if we change now and back Vera, I'd probably
even when I realise that I'm doing it, I still get it wrong. Yeah. Or when I finally do pick them, they lose.
You're like when fucking AI becomes sentient or something. You know, there's like a chip in the back of your brain or something that just like won't let you do it. But
you remember you used to be the cooler. Everybody you picked.
Yeah, and now I'm brilliant. I've like a 50% pick rate this year of bets, so that's pretty good.
50% is that meant to be good?
Of bets though, not of picks, of bets. That's
okay.
Good.
Sorry.
So. All right, it feels like we've talked about 1,000 fights here tonight, so we might leave it there. One last fight. Carl Moore has been matched against Alex Polizzi, who, when I reported the fight, he was number 6 in the Bellator rankings. He's actually number 5 now, and Carl was number 7, and now he's number 8. So big fight for Carl. He could move into the top 5 here, possibly, with a win, and then it's bombs away, because, like, you're talking about title shots once you get into the top 5, so massive fight for Carl. He's fighting in Hawaii as well.
Great turnaround as well.
Yeah, which is no harm, I don't think. I think Carl, you know, is a guy who missed a lot of time through injury. Big turnaround for him as well, so very interesting. One last thing as well. I don't know if you saw this, Graeme, or not, but there's a fighter, Jeff Molina, who a video circulated of him being caught in a sexual act with a man, and this has kind of gone, I don't know if it's been viral or what, but he came out and he put out a statement saying that he was bisexual and all of this now. So and I was kind of just thinking, the reason I bring this up is, right, this sort of thing happens in another sport, and it's like, you know, it happens in soccer, and it's like the biggest news ever. Whereas MMA,
nobody cares. I didn't even hear about this.
It didn't even make a dent much, really. Which is, I think, the biggest thing that made a dent was people kind of giving out that this guy's, you know, private matters were taken from him, and that video was put out there, which is absolutely correct. So I think
we just want to see fights.
Yeah, I think MMA people get an awful lot of criticism for being, you know, scumbags and all, but I think the reaction to this has mostly been, you know, fair play to him. Who cares, to be honest?
We just want to see men fight in the cage. Yeah. Women fight in the cage.
What they do at home, let them at it.
Near death.
Yeah, that's all. We're simple people, really. But yeah, I just thought I'd bring that up because, like, you know, fair play to the MMA community for not being pricks about it, mostly. Although some of them are pricks about it. So for the people who are pricks about it, you know, fuck you, basically.
But there's people going to be pricks about it.
Yeah, there's pricks about it. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I thought I'd bring it up anyway. All right, we will leave it there, Graeme. Thank you for joining me. This is an extremely long podcast again at 2:00 in the morning. I was like, do you know what? We get it done now after the fights, and it'll be over and done with, and we'll have early to bed, and it's fucking 2:00. So that didn't work out, did it? Fucking terrible. Any crack with you before we go? No news. Apart from the bad knee.
Just obviously mentioned the knee during the thing, playing football. Not even a contact, but just changing direction, and something just mad happened to my knee, and I can't bend my knee properly now and all. And it's my good knee, the knee I haven't had 2 surgeries on, so I'm hoping it's not an ACL, but I have to wait 48 hours to get a call for the MRI. The technician wouldn't tell me. He said he can't tell me. because he's not a doctor.
Never liked him.
Unfortunately.
Was Jordan Pickford around or anything, or did he
No, it wasn't. There was no attempted amputation. It was just a freak. I don't know. Maybe I have like weak knee ligaments or some shit. I don't know what's going on. It just keeps happening.
Yeah, I have 2 bad shoulders. I know the feeling, but sorry, Graeme. I'm so sorry that happened to you. I wish you didn't get
Well, I'm hoping it's like a meniscus or a MCL or an LCL or something that isn't an ACL. Anyway.
Me too. Yeah, I don't want to hear you fucking complain. Oh, I was horny for the next fucking 6 months, like. You know?
Yeah, well, it'll probably be at least a couple of months of that.
No. Don't be
unfortunately. Hopefully it's not as bad as I think it is.
How are Liverpool getting on since we last spoke? They lost a couple of
sure, yeah.
You're fair shit, aren't you?
Knocked out of the
everything.
Champions League.
Season over.
Devastating stuff.
Did you hear Jamie Carragher saying Trent needs to be dropped as a right back?
Well, like we've talked about this a lot.
You disagree, though, do you?
He's not playing. We talked about this so much, but he's not playing a traditional right back. And
but he is
in
not,
the past, when it was working, he had Fabinho or Henderson, covering the space when he went forward, and now Fabinho is just like some like clone or twin of Fabinho is now playing for Liverpool instead of actually Fabinho.
It made a lot of sense.
Henderson can't stay fit and can't play 2 games in a week, and just need new signings. Like hopefully Jude Bellingham will still be interested in playing for Liverpool after this season. We might need Alisson to bang in a few like hat tricks or something to get us to the Champions League this year. By the looks of things,
Jude Bellingham's hardly that stupid, is he, to go to a sinking ship like that? He's hardly that stupid, really. Like even you'd agree with that now. Like
he might he might want to be the part of the rebuild, part of the glorious comeback to success, like we did after we had a horrible season, finishing even behind Man United there a few seasons ago, which was obviously a disaster.
It's going to be 2 out of 3 seasons now you finished.
Man United actually ended up winning the league that year because Man City cheated. So
we did actually. Congratulations.
So maybe Liverpool finished second that year, so maybe it wasn't too bad a season.
Yeah, won't do it. All right, sure. Go on. We leave it there. So it's an awful pity that Man United and Liverpool weren't good at the same time. Hold on, actually,
before we're talking about football here, I don't know if you mentioned this, but Barcelona, while Pep was manager and winning all those Spanish league titles, Barcelona have been charged for that period with paying 7-point-something million euros to this like Spanish league association referee guy.
Are you getting worried?
So like that is ridiculous. Like Pep Guardiola just seems to be hanging around while all this corruption's going around everywhere, allegedly, yeah. And it seems to be barely talked about. That the man at the scene of all these crimes, alleged crimes, seems to be
like
just
murder
unchallenged in this situation. And the fact that I said that he's a cheat, alleged cheat at this stage, but I said that I speculated that he was a cheat.
Oh no, he's not an alleged cheat.
I've been proven. I'm about to be proven correct. I think I have to be very careful how I phrase all this.
He failed the drugs test as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did actually fail as a player. This has been going on for decades, across millennia.
Oh, come here, Graeme. While we're on drugs, actually, what about this whole USADA situation with McGregor and all this? This is crazy, I think.
I think like the 6 months thing is going to have to be served. There was some language in it about 2 tests, but I think it was 2 tests as well as 6 months, and there was an exception made in the past for Brock Lesnar, but that didn't turn out well for the UFC because Mark Hunt, I think, is either still suing them or was suing them for years. He's still
losing lots of money. Yeah.
So I think the UFC aren't going to get involved, and USADA put out a statement saying you need to do 6 months. Having these injuries and having to recover, and look at Chris Weidman, how bad it has been for him coming back from a serious injury, and if you're not competing, this is you probably need to take things after a surgery that USADA can't or that USADA wouldn't.
Darren Till said that recently
allow.
as well. He's like, well, I'm leaving, I'm retiring from the UFC because basically I need to do stuff that can't be done under USADA, like, you know?
Yeah, and that's perfectly legal.
What's wrong with that? Like,
by the rules.
I think if this
I
had
can see
happened,
why people are what?
If this had happened 3 or 4 years ago, I think McGregor would be getting absolutely castigated here. Like, I think people would be like massively on USADA and UFC's side. But when USADA released that statement, I think the vast majority of people are actually like on McGregor's side, because USADA have just went didn't say a word for about 2 years. No one failed, nothing happened. And even when someone does fail, they don't even tell us now. Like, it just feels that they've lost all credibility. And
I think they lost credibility with the Nate Diaz coming out and saying they told me to shut up about this and not say anything, and then it was kind of like, what the fuck? Like that was fucked up. There
are so many issues with, like, Luke Thomas has done great work in this over the years, but like he made a point yesterday about it favouring like the rich over, and that's one point of it. But it's also like the USADA was there when the UFC wanted to be sold so that to make them look more professional, right? And then they've gotten a lot of money out of the UFC, and it just feels like they haven't done in the last few years what they did well when they came into the UFC, and that doesn't fit right anymore. It feels like USADA is just like done now. It feels like it's just coming to a natural end. And you even hear Dana White talking recently, like, I'm kind of saying USADA was never my friend, sort of thing. Which
that's what I was going to say. Like, I'm not involved in this anymore. He's kind of seems to be pushing away from it. But I think the fact that it's gone secretive makes it look worse. I think if they came out and explained everything and said, okay, well, if you do have like a major surgery, or if you do retire for a number of years, you have to come back 6 months. And then we made a mistake allowing Brock Lesnar. We're never doing that again. Just be like open and, you know, send out fucking emails to the press and stop like doing everything behind, like, you know,
but that's
closed doors, and it's all suspicious and what's going on, and oh, USADA this, USADA that, oh, nobody really knows what's going on, oh, IVs, oh, no, that rule changed, when did it change, oh, we don't know, shut up. Yeah, and then they don't release a statement for 3 years, and then overnight they release a statement on Conor McGregor accusing him of lying and all this. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, there's lads who go out there and fail tests for fucking every sort of thing, and you release no statement about it. We never hear about it. And yet McGregor says he's going to have a meeting. He basically said, look, we'll have to sort that out. He wasn't saying anything, basically, that he hasn't said before. And they come out and they release the statement. That just seems like they're taking shots at him for clout. I was going to say, like, what did you think that was like a kind of passive-aggressive statement? I thought it was. I don't know if that was just me, or I didn't see many people saying that, but I'm glad you said it there without me saying it.
I saw a few people saying it. I don't know how any other way you could acknowledge that. Like, if USADA were releasing statements all the time, if this was a thing they did, I'd say, oh, look, fair enough, it's just what USADA do. Like, if you ask Dana White a question and he comes up with that sort of answer, grand, that's the way he speaks. But USADA are radio silent on all of these things and have been for fucking years now. Yet they come out, like someone said on Twitter to me, is like, it feels like McGregor was there and they had to make a statement. That's not your fucking job. Your job is to be like an impartial arbiter of kind of what's right. It's not to come out and like put passive aggressive comments at people who are like, McGregor said he wants to have a meeting with him, and he said maybe he said he had a meeting planned with him or something, but whatever. He wants to have a meeting with him to sort out what he has to do to get back in. As you said, it'll probably have to be the 6 months grant. Fair enough if that's it. But like, to come out before you've even had the meeting, why don't you contact Conor McGregor? Why don't you contact the UFC and go, oh, Conor wants to have a meeting with us. Absolutely, we're willing to have a meeting. Let's do it. Then just rushing to release a fucking statement to say, there's no meeting, he's a liar, you can't be taking drugs. It's like, what the? It's bizarre, like. Absolutely fucking bizarre. I don't know. I think they've massively overstepped what they're doing. But also, like, should fighters, like, and again, I'm just stealing Luke Thomas's point here, like, but should fighters be fucking waking up at 8 o'clock in the morning every few days to give samples like this?
If they're staff, then I think so.
Yeah, and they're not
private contractors, then
exactly. It's bullshit.
Like, shady,
and what benefit are we actually getting from it? Like, a clean sport. Like, are we getting a clean sport? As Luke makes the point again, if you're the richest of the rich, you can find ways past it. You know, so, and like, we hear all about these lads. Oh, he went over and he trained in wherever for 2 months. Yeah, oh, did he? Oh, yeah, that must have been fun. Like, what? And then he comes back and he looks like fucking King Kong. You know, like, come on, lad. Like, who are they fooling here? Like, are people thinking like, oh, no one fails tests anymore and there's no drugs going on? It's like, are you fucking serious? Like, come on. You sat out, VAR out. That's my opinion on it. Anyway, we leave it there. Graeme, have you an inspirational quote for the week?
I do. Oops. Go on. That's something that falls over.
You have a broken microphone and an inspirational quote for the week.
Gene, I'm not sure what happiness means, but I look in your eyes and I know that it isn't there. We tried, we failed.
See you next week. Good luck.